All right, welcome everyone. I'll go ahead and keep admitting people as they come in, but you are here to enjoy the first in the webinar series for the 2025-2026 school year with Lindsay Kemeny on leveling up your phonics instruction. Lindsay's going to give you some really practical, doable strategies that you can use in your classroom tomorrow. It's one of the things I love about Lindsay's work is because she's still in the classroom on a daily basis, she really gets kids, she gets what works, and she's trying and testing all the things all the time. So I think you'll see some real practical um, application to the settings that you serve, whether you're a coach, an administrator, or a teacher. There'll be some value add today. So with that said, just a couple of things about the Reading League Utah. We are a new chapter in Utah. The Reading League's been around for, I think, over a decade now, but in terms of the Utah chapter, we just got approval in January. And so the real goal of this chapter in Utah is to advance the awareness of evidence-aligned reading instruction to impact kids, to really make sure we have as many kids, if not all kids, learning to read as quickly and as best as possible, knowing that that early foundation is so critical to their future trajectories. And really, this network is those of you that are have joined as members, and those that are just joining us today is really an opportunity to learn with and from each other. And we'll have different types of events as we kind of get older in our chapter being, but we started with a webinar series to try and just get people together to continue to advance their practice in reading. And then our membership is made up of lots of different types of educators. I put a few there on the screen, such as classroom teachers, coaches, higher education faculty, pre-service teachers, teachers that are learning to become full-fledged teachers in the classroom, as well as administrators and others, of course. But that is just a sampling of who is part of the Reading League Utah. And I'm Jennifer Thronson, your host of this. Basically, I'm here to record and press forward on slides and then hand things over to Lindsay. So you just have me for just another moment. As we roll in, my background is classroom teacher, district office specialist, state specialist, and now I run my own consulting business. And so just kind of have done a lot of different roles in education, and I'm super passionate about literacy. I was the state literacy coordinator in Utah for 5 years, and really want to see every kid learn to read. And so whatever we can do to help advance our practice so we know what that looks like, I am here for, and Lindsay's going to be helping us with that today. If you will, in the chat box, put in your name, your role, what you're currently doing, whether that's a first grade teacher, that's where I started, and I didn't know phonics friends, so like what Lindsay is offering today, hopefully is not your reality of like, you don't even know what the sounds say, but that's where my journey in reading started, and where you're coming from. We have definitely a lot of folks from Utah, but because this went out nationally, there are folks from across the country and potentially outside the US, although I'm not sure my Zoom allows that. So maybe we're not here in the US, but I know we've had interest broadly, and we're glad to have you on a Monday evening spending your time with us. And thank you for putting your roles and names and locations in the chat box. As we do that, Lindsay was kind enough to recruit a raffle opportunity. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and she's going to take over and share what you potentially could win by just participating today. This is the benefit of live. For our recorded participants, they don't have the luxury of potentially being a big winner tonight. But Lindsay, if you want to take over and just kind of share, and then I will do the random number generating. And at the end of the session, we'll let you know if you won, and we'll have to collect a few details from you to be able to get those things to you. So make sure you stay on for just a moment to get us those details. All right, Lindsay, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this Monday evening. And it's so fun to be, one of the early webinars for the Reading League Utah. So it's an honor. Some of you may know a little bit about me. I'm a school teacher in Davis School District. So I've taught kindergarten, I've taught second, I've taught intervention K to 6, and right now I'm teaching first grade. And I'm also an author. So I have 3 books. My first book, Seven Mighty Moves, and just last year I had 2 other books, Rock Your Literacy Block and Seven Mighty Moves Reading Resources. And yes, as Jennifer said, so as a teacher, I love giveaways. I love prizes. I always think that's so fun. So I partnered up with Hand to Mind, and they're so generous, offered these 3 super exciting prizes. So, and all three, I just want to say I'm always kind of intentional with what I give away. So, all three of these things like I use in my classroom. So, we have the set with the alphabet magnet letters there. There's like a set of six, so it's perfect for small group. The little alphabet arc, which is really nice for students learning the alphabet and alphabetical order. And then also the on the right is like this phonemic awareness kit. Some of you may have seen a picture of that where we like in my book where we put in the cubes and then put in the letters with a dry erase marker. So anyway, stay tuned to the end. Make sure you put your name in because I think we're going to do like a random drawing for who put their name in the chat, right? And
Make
then
sure you
Jennifer,
checked in with your name, role, and
yes.
location.
Yeah, and then we'll just do that at the end. All right. So I'm forcing you all to stay till, till the end. Okay, so we're talking all things phonics instruction today. And I just want to back up a little bit. So when I shared this information about me, I do think the most important thing to know is I am a current teacher and I'm really passionate about literacy, and that passion really comes from experiences I had with my son when and I'm not going to go into his story, but he was diagnosed with dyslexia several years ago, and it's really just what started me on this journey into effective literacy instruction. He also had depression, and just seeing I saw firsthand that connection between self esteem and the ability to read. And so, truly, I think learning to read or teaching our students to read is the greatest gift we can give our students. It's so important, it changes their lives. I truly believe that. So, thank you for being here. Spending extra time to improve your literacy instruction because I just think it's so amazing what we do, and I'm just so grateful for all of us that are playing a part, whether you're on the front lines being a teacher or whether you're supporting teachers in some capacity. Um, uh, Thank you for being here. When I went on this journey, I had to make a lot of changes in my classroom, and one of those changes was around phonics instruction. The truth is, I didn't even know what good phonics instruction looked like in the beginning. I feel like I was more facilitating phonics activities than actually teaching my students explicitly and systematically the code. So I had a lot of learning to do. And now I just feel like the phonics lesson, it's one of my strongest parts of the day. I love it. I love teaching phonics. You will see that I am a nerd as I'm speaking. I think that will come across. I am a word nerd, but I love teaching phonics. A couple of the things that I had to learn at the beginning was not to leave things to chance. And really, this is what I was doing as I was kind of like, what did my students struggle with in that story? I guess I'll teach that word chunk. You know, I mean, I had no idea. And the problem is when we're just reactive like that, instead of following a scope and sequence of skills, it's like this Swiss cheese effect, right? The students have all these holes and gaps in their knowledge. So instead, I learned, hey, we need to follow a sequence of skills. There's not one perfect scope and sequence. I've used a variety of different ones with success, a variety of different phonics programs with success. But we have some general guidelines. Like we want to go from high frequency spellings to low frequency spellings, more simple concepts before we do more complex. Another thing I learned was to use the I do, we do, you do format. And it's not always this perfect I do, we do, you do. It's often I do, we do, we do, we do, we do, we do, you do. Oh, we do, we do, we do, you do, right? And that's where we're really reactive to our students and we're providing scaffolding and then we're pulling back that scaffolding and just reacting to how they are doing. All right. So early on, so one of those first moves, right, was teaching phonics explicitly and systematically. So getting a good, high quality program was really important to me. But I love this quote from Dr. Louisa Moats because programs don't teach, teachers do. So, yes, we need good, high quality materials and phonics programs. But a lot of times we still have to do some things to add to that program to adjust as we're implementing that program. And I love this analogy of a program with like using a map versus a GPS or Google Maps. So, like, if you think of the paper map, that is kind of like our programs, right? They tell us how to get to our destination, but they don't tell us what to do if the students don't reach that destination. They don't tell us what to do if we make a wrong turn or get off course or we're not getting there. Versus, think of Google Maps. I use this all the time when I'm driving. If I take a wrong turn, what does it do? It's like rerouting, 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 and then it just puts me back on course. I love it. I kind of think that's how we are as we're working with our students and with these programs, right? We've got to figure out what to do if it's not working for our students. We have to figure out the adjustments to make. And so really that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today when I'm talking about leveling up your phonics program is like, what can we do to make it even more effective? And there are a few things like specifically that I want to talk about how we can level up our phonics lessons, okay? We're going to be talking about response opportunities, the transitions in our lesson, and routines. And I'm going to talk a little bit about response opportunities here at the beginning. And then I'm going to kind of walk you through my phonics lesson, and we're going to kind of talk about some of these other things and how we can really improve upon it. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat. So as you have questions, you can put them in there, and I'm going to try my best to keep an eye on that. And we'll also hopefully have some time for questions at the end. So, talking about frequent responses, um, Dr. Anita Archer is one of my heroes. So, if you're not familiar with her, I highly recommend her book, Explicit Instruction, and any videos or webinars that she has done because she is the master at this. But she has said that when schools come on and district leaders come to her and say, what is just one thing we can do to improve student outcomes? She says, increase the opportunities to respond. And this, I have found this so true in my classroom. Like, this makes all the difference. As the opportunities for students to respond go up, the learning goes up. It increases learning and it reduces the disruptive behaviors. You'll find that students are on task more and they're on task with things that with activities that lead to learning. So sometimes I think we confuse engagement with entertainment, right? We don't need to entertain our students. We need to engage them. And how we engage them is by having everyone participate. I love that Dr. Anita Archer said, learning is not a spectator sport, right? We can't just, it's not just like sit and get. And she says, everyone does everything. And it's really interesting because we're towards the beginning of the year, kind of here. I mean, I guess we're into November, so we're a few months in, but it's interesting just at the beginning of the year, I have students that, they're new to, I guess, my style of teaching, right? And some of them, it took a little bit for them to be like, oh, no, she really means she wants everyone to respond. I'm like, oh, I need to have everyone, everyone. And I particularly am thinking of this one little student that was always like, he seemed very attentive. He'd just be looking at me. And but he like what it took a little bit for it to be like, whoa, everyone said that except for you. Let's do it again. Everyone. So truly, I mean, everyone does everything. We want to have high expectations for 100% participation. All right, there are some different ways students can respond, and we're really going to be thinking about this as it applies to our phonics lesson. There's three different ways to respond, and when the response is the same and short, Anita Archer says we want to aim for 3 to 5 responses per minute, which seems like a lot until you realize we can respond these three different ways. So, first, verbal. So, this is what I'm saying. Like when answers are short and the same, we're going to do choral responses. Everyone is going to respond. And what I'll do is like you want to have a cue for students to know when to respond. So, what I tend to do is I kind of point up at my head when I ask a question because I'm wanting them to think. And then when I put my hands down, is when my students will say the response. All right. I might also say, everyone, as a verbal cue for when they respond. So, for example, in my phonics lesson, I might say, does CK come at the beginning of the word or end of a word? Everyone? End of a word. They can all say it, right? Together. And then I'll say, does CK come after a short vowel or a long vowel? Everyone? Short vowel, right? So do you see that? The answers were short and the same, so we can do these choral responses. You're doing this a lot in your phonics lessons, right? Because you're chorally reading words. You're showing your spellings, your phoneme grapheme deck. You're showing those and they're saying the sounds for them, right? So it's easy, I think, to get these in our phonics lessons. When the answers are a little longer or more varied, we're going to use structured partners. And so I have students in pairs and they're like they have when we're sitting at the rug, they have assigned partners. So when I say turn to the partner, they know exactly who to turn to. And then when we're at our desks, they also have assigned partners that they turn to. So think about the location that your students are in at different parts of your lesson and think of assigning them that partner. And then it's really helpful if you can give each partner a job. So a name and then a job. So it could be like ones and twos. I use ones and twos when they're at the rug, and when I am at the desk, their names are Milk and Cookie. Okay, so you're going to say something like, ones, you're going to tell your partner what sound TCH spells. Twos, you're going to tell your partners when you use the spelling of TCH, right? Or ones, you're going to tell your partner what the meaning of whatever the word is. Twos, you're going to use the word in a sentence. Or it might be they're both going to share ideas for something, but you're going to say who goes first. If you don't do that, what happens is you'll have like one dominant student in the partnership that's always going first. And then sometimes the other partner doesn't have enough time or doesn't get to share. All right. So that's how structured partners work. So just be thinking about these as and how you can use them in your phonics lessons. And we're going to get to those steps in just a minute. All right. And then we have written responses. During my phonics lesson is when I love to use whiteboards. These individual dry erase boards, they're so low stakes. It's really easy for me to see what everyone has written. So as I don't have them hold them up, that just like takes more time. They leave them flat on their desk because I'm always circling around and walking around monitoring my students so I can easily see what they've written. And it's really easy to say something like, oh, listen, you wrote set, but the word is sit. Which one do you need to change? And it's just a little wipe of the finger to erase and fix it. And that's why I love it. Now, you might want to use pencil and paper. That's great too, because you have like a visual record of how they're doing. Of course, I'm going to use pencil and paper other parts of the day. I just prefer during our dictation portion of our lessons to use the whiteboards. And I especially love the ones with handwriting lines because I'm always reinforcing that handwriting. So that is really helpful. A lot of times people ask where I get these boards that are a little bit longer. which is really great. So when we write sentences and things, we have more space. And they are from, it's called the Marker Board People, the Marker Board People. So if you just search that, their website should come up. And then the last way is physical. All right. We're breaking apart a word. So we might be segmenting and doing something with our hands. Even just saying finger under the first word, that is a physical response, right? If I say, oh, sit up straight, and they have them sit up, that's a physical response. We just spelled the word sad. Show me on your face what it looks like when you're sad. That would be a physical response. Okay. So, all these three ways together are some ways we can respond during a lesson. All right. So, not too hard because we just had it on the previous slide, but tell me, what are the three ways students can respond? Put it in the chat. Verbal's one, good. Yes, there we go. All three ways. Very good. Verbal, physical, and written. I'm seeing it. Great job, you guys. All right. And do you remember how many responses we want to aim for a minute? Yeah, good job. That's right. 3 to 5. Of course, if the responses are longer, right, or more varied, you're going to have a little less per minute. All right. So when you have your lesson, you may need your program. So I hope you have a phonics program. It's kind of like a pet peeve of mine when your school district doesn't provide a program for you. So I hope you have a high quality program. You might need to build in response opportunities. And I just wanted to show you an example of how I might do that. Now, this lesson comes from a program that is excellent. This is from UFly, and there is a lot of evidence to support this. So I don't have to make a ton of changes to this program because I already know that there is evidence, really strong evidence that shows it works as designed. Okay. So I'm going to build in some response opportunities without compromising the integrity of the program because I know this is a strong program, if that makes sense. But you can see right here where it has the new concept introduction. And I see, there's several paragraphs there. And this is a place where, like, I know if I just read that whole thing to my students, I might have several students that kind of check out. And I'm wanting to think about how I can keep them engaged by using these different response opportunities. Okay. So you can see, like, it says, a consonant digraph is when two consonants come together to make one sound. You have already learned about a consonant digraph. We have talked about CK. When CK are together at the end of the word, they make one sound. Okay, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say, boys and girls, we've learned that a digraph is when two letters make one sound. Everyone do that with me. Ready? Two letters that make one sound. And I'll have them do that with like their hands. Okay, so they just had a physical response and a verbal response. That's right. Okay. Yesterday we learned CK. What sound does CK spell? Everyone? Okay. So already right there, we've had three responses, right? Then the next section. I'm going to hold up the card S. We know that this letter spells what sound? S. And I'm holding up H. This letter spells what sound? Yes, but together, today we're going to learn that when they are together, they make a new sound. They spell the sound shh. Can everyone say that? Shh. That's right. Shh can come at the beginning of a word like ship. And I point and have them repeat ship or shop. My class repeats shop. Yes, or that sh sound can come at the end of the word, like fish. The class repeats fish. Wish. The class repeats wish. Okay, so just to give you an example, that is how I would just build in response opportunities. Again, like I said, I know this is a fantastic program, so I'm not compromising anything by that. I didn't like change anything drastically, but I built in some response opportunities. Okay, so something you'll want to do is just like look over your program and see where you might need to build in some response opportunities. All right. Um, so that's one thing is those response opportunities. Another thing to be thinking about is the transitions. And so you have all your steps of a lesson, and you want to be thinking about what happens between the steps. Okay. How do you get ready for the next step? And in some of our transitions are very small and some are bigger where we might actually be changing physical locations in the room. So you want to be thinking about how your students do that. We also want to be thinking about routines. And again, this might be something you have to build in. Um, so my district recently adopted a new program, a new phonics program, and it's like every day I was like reading through the lessons and it was everything in the phonics lesson was like a different order every day. And like that's really hard for me as a teacher, but it's also hard for my students. It's really helpful to have some consistency. So this is something I really thought about because I'm like, I have to build in the consistency and those routines. I've got to build that in. So, depending on your program, this might be something you need to build in, or maybe it's just something you can improve upon, or maybe it's something you're already doing really well at. Okay. So, I have here like some kind of generic steps of an explicit phonics lesson. It's okay if yours is a little bit different order, right? And then we have how we're going to layer in. So we have our steps, and then we're going to be thinking about layering in our routines, our transitions, and our frequent responses. All right, so I'm going to walk you through mine. And like I'm going to tell you the physical locations and things. My routines doesn't mean you have to do it exactly the same way, but I hope it gives you some ideas. Also, it really kind of depends on your room setup and everything. So I like to start my phonics lessons at the rug. I just feel like my students listen better. They're like cuddled together. They're closer to me. I can hear them. I can see them as I am explaining the new concept. So I like them right there at the rug at the beginning. Okay, so you can see here's the beginning of my lesson. I put the approximate minutes, and I'm gonna and we're all at the rug, and I'm just gonna walk you through these steps. All right. So I'm gonna share some of the routines I do. So I do a warm up, a blending and segmenting warm up in first grade, and I sing songs to do it. So for blending, I go slide, slide, slippity slide. When I say the sounds, you're going to make them glide. And then I'll go b o t. They say boat. K o t, coat. R o d, road. Okay, so I'll just do like 8 words. Then we go break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down. When I say the words, you say the sounds, break it down. I give them the word float, and they go f o o t, road, o d, boat, and they say b o t. Okay, it's quick. We do the song, so I don't have to explain it. You can use words right from your phonics lesson. All right, just to do that quick warm up using words we're going to be reading and spelling. All right, so it's really quick. Just a side note that some students will need more help with phonemic awareness. And that's when like I will use manipulatives and that's when I'll pull them in small group. And I might use like some of those things I'm giving away as a surprise, okay, as a prize today. But I will, you guys, those, if you have Seven Mighty Moves, my book, those songs are linked there. But if not, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and watch again those songs. Um, and Oh, so I was saying in small group, I can use manipulatives and different things to really help because some students are going to need more phonemic awareness support than just what I did with the whole group. Another idea for support is using pictures, especially helpful for English learners because it's so abstract when you're just saying like, sh, and they're like, what? Especially if it's like, not familiar to them. So these are just different types of scaffolds, all right, for phonemic awareness. All right, then I'm going to move right into a review. So I'm going to, and all of this, so remember we're thinking about transitions. All of this really right now just depends on my preparation. So I need to make sure, like, what do I have over by my rocking chair where I start the lesson? And I need to have, so we can do that phonemic awareness warm up really easily. If I have like my words right there, then I just have to pick up my phoneme grapheme deck and they're going to say the sounds. Then I have a blending drill, or if I don't have cards like you see in that blending drill, I can just have them up on the whiteboard and we could do an auditory drill. So I can do all these things right there. It just depends on my preparation for the transition between these little parts, right? Yeah, Jenny, that's why I'm like, build in your routines if they don't have any, right? So I hope this will give you some ideas. So that that visual drill is just where I'm showing them the spelling, they're saying the sounds super fast. It's like 1 minute or less. The blending drill, I have like run there. We're going to sound out run, run. Then I'm going to change one letter. Rug, rug. Change one letter. Rag, rag. Okay. And so that's just a review of previously learned concepts. And then the auditory drill. Now, this is one that when you hear what I do, you might go, yeah, I'm going to do that different. Okay. And that's okay. The auditory drill is the hardest one. So I'm going to say the sound. I'm going to say the sound is ch. And then students will go ch. CH spells ch. And then I'll say the sound is sh. And they'll repeat sh. SH spells sh. The sound is eh. They'll say eh. E spells eh. And while they're saying that, they are writing the word. Now, remember, what location are my students at? My students are at the rug for this. So we don't have paper or pencil or whiteboards at the rug. I just have them use a finger and they just write in the carpet. Okay. I know there couldn't be like, all right, issues with that. Here's how I address some of those. My students have assigned seats at the rug, and I intentionally have my most needy students that need most support from me right in the front, so I can like visually see if they are doing the letter or not. And like I can see, I'll correct them. Ooh, start at the top for that ah. Ready? Hook around, close, ah. So I can kind of correct them. Now, you might not like that, and that's okay. You could save the auditory drill. If you wanted to start at the rug, you could save and do the auditory drill when you're at their desks with their whiteboards, and that works too. All right. Then I move into my new concept introduction. That's like what I showed you when I was showing you the example of the U fly lesson and how I would build in some response opportunities. All right, that was the new concept introduction. So I like to do that right there at the rug. You can see like me in my rocking chair. I might have a picture of a mouth there. We're talking about what our mouth is doing and, whatever, if there's a spelling rule, whatever. I'm just explaining it right there, trying to build in some response opportunities there. And then we go right into our choral word reading. Okay, so you can see here, I have these magnetic pages. Like you can see, I wrote those words on the magnetic page. So for this transition, so you could see there's like a radiator on the left side. That magnetic page was just on my radiator all morning. And then for this part of the lesson, All I have to do is take that magnetic page and put it over on my whiteboard, and we're ready to read words. Okay, so again, just thinking about like the transition. So that transition, again, just depends on me making sure that I wrote those words before school so it's ready. And then we're just going to chorally read the words together. There's different ways, kind of different routines you could use for choral reading. This is what I do a lot of the time. At the beginning of the year, I did something a little different because my students were struggling a little more with blending. But now I do this, it's like vowel blending. So what we're going to do is we're going to say the vowel sound first, which is usually like the harder thing that we're learning in our phonics, like the new skill, right? So here, what I would do is I point to the OA. I'll say sound, everyone says O. And then I say word, and everyone says coat. All right. So you be my audience. I'm going to, ooh, I wonder if I can get my little highlighter thing. Yes, here we go. Let's see. I'm going to get a laser pointer. Okay. Do you guys see where I'm pointing right now? Okay. So I'm going to go sound, and you say
O,
O, word,
load.
good. Sound,
O,
word,
float.
sound,
O,
word.
road.
Okay, and so on. So, and that's what we're doing right now. So in my class right now, we are doing Magic E, right? So last week we did A Magic E, I Magic E. Today was O Magic E, and I put my fingers like I point to the O and the E. So my fingers are kind of like this V. If it was two vowels together, I would be having my fingers together like this. Like if it was OA, I'd just be pointing to them. But since it's the O, I need them to look at the O and then the magic E at the end. We're like sound, O, word, note. Sound, O, word, road. And we're reading them like that. That's really helpful for students because even though this is the focus of the lesson, you will still have students that will forget and they will say, ah. And so that's why it's really nice before they read that whole word to go ahead and they know what the vowel sound is because you just practiced it. Sometimes, so in the past, I have used that UFly program that I showed. Um, I used that a few years ago, loved it, but my district has a different program. So they had slides, PowerPoint slides, and they already had words there for us to chorally say. So when I used that program, we would move to our desks and then we would do choral word reading there. Just because the way my technology in my room is set up, I didn't have technology over by the rug. It was over here by our desks. Okay. So that doesn't matter. Think about your setup, your classroom setup, and what's going to work for you. All right. But at this point is in the lesson is when I have a bigger transition. Okay. So all of those, what I just described, that was all done at the rug. And now we have this bigger transition because now we're going to move from the rug to the desks. And like you can lose a lot of time during transitions like this. So it's really important to tighten up those times. I mean, think about it. Like, let's say you have 30 minutes for a phonics lesson, but how much of that time are students engaged in activities that lead to learning? And researchers have found that there's a big difference. Like there's this discrepancy between your planned time for your lesson and the actual time that students are engaged in tasks that lead to learning. So we really want to maximize that time, which is why I'm talking about transitions, right? Because you think about it, you're like, you get ready for your lesson, but you can't find the decodable you're going to read or the word lists, or you go to write something and your marker is dead, or the announcements come on, or someone stops by the room to give a message or to bring someone's lunchbox that they forgot. There's a mosquito, right? That happened to be not long ago. A mosquito comes in the room, and like suddenly our 30-minute lesson is like 20 minutes. So this is why I'm saying like we really got to learn to maximize every minute. Okay. So back to this transition, I'm going to show you my students. how we transition from the rug to the desks. Okay, so here's a video. Hopefully you can hear it. Maybe it's not going. Let me do this one. Oh, it's still not going. Okay, we'll try one more time. If not, I'll just describe it. Oh, I don't know. Sorry, it's not working for some reason. But what I do is I say, desk, desk, desk. And then they repeat, desk, desk, desk. And that's their cue. Everyone stands up, they move to their desk, and then they get, I'm going to try it this way. And then they get their whiteboards out. I'm going to try one more time. Nope, it's just being stubborn. Okay. And then they get their whiteboards out and they're ready to go. And if this video was working, you would see it takes my students 30 seconds. So I say desk, desk, desk. They say desk, desk, desk. And as soon as they get to their desk, their whiteboards out, their markers out, and they're ready for dictation. And I can go right into dictation. So they're really proud at being able to do it in 30 seconds. And my class this year is has got it down to 30 seconds now too by this time of year. They're really fast. And it's really kind of fun because I have a few boys that are they're very like they're kind of these rambunctious sporty boys, but they're also like a little competitive. And it's good because I just use that to my advantage because they all kind of want to be the first ones to their desk with their whiteboard and marker out, ready to write. So it's perfect. Okay, let's go into the second part um, of the second part of the phonics lesson. Okay, so now we're going to practice dictation, and so even so, like my program that we use right now, um, it didn't have first grade do any dictation until like October. Okay, but this is something I do from day one. I did it the first day of school. I start teaching them this routine, and every day, as part of our phonics lesson, we spell the words that I'm teaching them. I know that it's really important to teach to that they can learn really well through writing. So this is an important part. Like I know that I need to add to my phonics lessons. Okay, so again, thinking about like that GPS versus the paper roadmap, we have to know how to level up our phonics program. Here's the routine I use for dictation. And I learned this routine from a program I used several years ago called Reading Horizons, where they would have the teacher say the word two times and then the students repeat the word two times. And at first I thought that was kind of odd. And I'm like, well, aren't the kids then going to write the word two times? But they're not. They learn it. They learn it, and it's kind of fun because like anytime at any part of the day, if I say a word two times, they like automatically like they flip into the routine. They repeat it back and they segment the sounds. Like so you see right here the word bath. I would say the word is bath, bath, and they say bath, bath, b a. Okay, so they segment it right away. And then I will say, oh, he gave the dog a bath. I'll use it in a sentence. And then they start writing. And as they write, I have them say the sounds as they write. B, a, okay. And then they write. And I'm always monitoring my students, look around, walk around, talk around, as Dr. Archer says. Um, and then after we've written all our words, this is another little thing I learned from that Reading Horizons program that I still do, like with whatever program I'm using. And it's this little game called the eraser game. I'm always thinking about those response opportunities and those opportunities for practice. And that's what this is. It's also an opportunity to bring in that vocabulary and the meaning of the words. All right, so they have all their words, and I'll say, okay, point to the word that's a part of your body. Point to the word that's a part of your body. Think about what does the student need to do? Well, they have to read their words and then point to the one so they have a physical response. And I'll say, what word? And everyone together says shin. And I'll say, that's right. The shin is a part of your body. And then they erase, and I have them say the sounds while they erase. They go sh, I, n, shin. Okay, Mary, you said, do you have them map the sounds with lines first after tapping, or just tap the sounds and then? I just have them right away. If you needed that as a scaffold where you needed them to do the lines, the sound lines, you could do it as a scaffold, like, right? Or if you needed those sound boxes as a scaffold, it's a scaffold. So if your students needed it, um, I would do it. And I do the lines for our high frequency words, if you've seen that, because those are just a little harder. And the whiteboards, Teresa, are from the marker board people. And if you search marker board people, I think Jennifer put the link actually in the chat. I don't remember the website name, it's different, but if you just search that, you can find it.
I just dropped it in again. It's in there for
Perfect.
me.
Thank you. And then like I'll give another clue. Okay, point to the word that's like a type of money. Like if you your dollar bills, if you had some dollar bills, they would be called this. Okay, they point to cash. What word? They say cash. I say yes, say the sounds while you erase the word k, sh. So they're having that segmenting practice again. Okay, so again, these are just some little routines I like to build in to the lesson. We will write a sentence. My students write the sentence, they raise their hand to have me check it. And after I've checked it, they get to do a picture. They can't do the picture until I've checked it. So, and they love this part of the day. It's really funny. A lot of times I'll have classes that will cheer when I say it's time to do a sentence and they'll cheer. And I think it's because they love doing the picture. And in fact, if you know who Dr. Louisa Moats is, she came to my classroom last May and she just spent like the whole morning. She watched my whole literacy block. It was like so incredible. But it was really funny because there were a couple different points in the day that I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have planned that better. And one of them was when I said, okay, we're going to do sentence. And the class cheered, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Okay. And the other part is when we were doing writing and I was like, get out your folders. It's time for writing. And they cheered again. And I was just like, I promise I didn't tell them to do that, you know? So it was great. Um, okay. And then again, I'm just monitoring. I'm going to help those. I have the ones that will need more help at kind of assigned at certain desks that I can get to really easily so that I can help them as they're doing those sentences. And I'm not going to go into this routine. If you have either, well, it really any three of my books, this routine is in there. I just don't have a lot of time right now. So we're going to keep moving. But I have a routine for those high frequency words that are usually they're irregular, right? Or they have a part that you haven't taught yet. And then here is something that I have added to every single phonics program I've ever used, and that is I will add like word lists. We want because you know we did that word list chorally, right? When it was up on my board, but I know that some students are going to be relying more on the class to say it than doing the work themselves. So that's why I like to make these word lists with the concept I'm teaching. And then as they're erasing their sentences, right, I'm saying erase your sentences and put them away. As they're doing that, I'm passing out the word lists and then they start right away. And the partner one goes first. Now, partner one is the stronger one between the pair. They don't know that. They just know that partner one, or I call them the milk. The milk goes first and the cookie goes second. So the milk reads the word list and the cookie reads the word list. If they finish and the time is not up yet, they start again. So the task is never ending so that no one's getting off task, right? And we just do it for 2 to 3 minutes. I'm walking around, I'm helping those that need help. Once more proficient, I'm kind of more able to monitor everyone. And then they put these away in their mailboxes to go home. So I send the word lists home every day. And the parents, like we just had parent teacher conferences last week, and I had one parent that was just raving about this. She's like, this is the best because I know exactly what you guys are working on every day. And she loved that. So it's just so simple just to do the word lists, to give them some extra practice. I love it when our phonics programs have like a list of words that follow like what you just taught. But if they don't, check out this website. It's free. I use this all the time, devinkearns.com. You type in the spelling or the grapheme, like let's say you want words with OU. So you would type that in and then you would click. You can see there where it says phoneme. So you click which phoneme you want. Do you want when it says ow or when it says o? You know, so you can click that and then it will generate this word list and it's in order of frequency, and then you can use that to create your word lists. You can use it to differentiate. So if you've got some really like high, high, just very highly motivated, successful students in your classroom, you could give them words with OU that are 2 syllables or 3 syllables while everyone else is doing 1 syllable, right? Or if you're upper grade teacher and you don't have a phonics program, but you're like, I notice a student always misses AI, give them a word list with AI words to have them practice. We also have a routine for for decodables. All right. This routine has changed a little bit. It used to be where we had the paper decodable, right? So when I had that, I would give them 1 minute to highlight the target skill. So we just had a lesson on SH, and I'd say, okay, try to find all the words with SH. Ready, go. And I just give them like 1 minute. They would use a yellow crayon and just highlight all the SH words. Then if they finish and I haven't said stop, they just start reading those. So this is just a little scaffold because this is new. And as we read the decodable text, even though we just had this whole lesson on SH, some students will still need support remembering that new sound spelling. Then we're going to read it. And usually what I would do is like, I would read the first paragraph, then we choral read the first paragraph. I would read the second paragraph, then we choral read the second paragraph. Then I'd have students do the same thing in partners. Right now, our program, our phonics program, has like actual paper decodables. So I skip all that highlighting part, right? Because we're not going to write in them, and we just do the end, like the choral reading and then the partner reading. All right. So just thinking through, do I have a routine for each of these? And also, how are you passing out the books and how are you putting them back? You know, all those things where you can lose minutes. You just want to think through all of that. I know there's like so much to think through. And then this is the time, like these are my approximate times right here for this. Okay. And then later in small group, we're going to do more. I'm going to that's where I'm pulling out other books that follow the same skill that we can practice, get more practice with, or for some students that don't need more of that decodable, we can just do harder books for them. And then close. So the close is something that I wasn't always very good at. And Dr. Archer really helped me to see like, no, we do need to have a closing. So we'll go back to the rug and I will, and then it's just very brief. What did we learn today? We learned that SH spells what sound? Shh, yes. And tomorrow we're going to learn another digraph where 2 letters are going to spell one sound. Okay, so give a quick review and a preview of what's coming up. So what I would recommend to you is just to think about like take like your program or your steps, right? Think about the steps in your program, and if you don't have that great of a program, think about how you might need to adjust some of those steps and build in the routines. But think about those transitions between the parts and just take some time to plan those out. I'm going to skip this. If you look at the full minutes, you might not like, especially the beginning of the year, I don't always have time for all the steps. My phonics lessons are anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. So I prioritize some things like that we're going to do like it was every day and some things we're going to do every other day. So we are going to do that three-part drill that I just so briefly went over. We're going to do that every other day, right? We're going to do a sentence dictation every other day unless I have time for it. My class this year, they've started getting really fast at that sentence dictation and the other parts of the lesson. So I've been able to put sentence dictation in almost every time, which has been great. That high frequency word instruction, I'm not introducing new words every day, so sometimes it's just a review. And so that review goes a little quicker. I would love to get decodable text in every day. My program now, I usually do. Programs in the past, it was like every other day. I want to at least get it in 3 days a week, but for sure, everyone will also be getting that in small group every day. Okay, so just some things to think about. One more slide to share, and then we'll see if there's any other questions. Um, but I just want to share, like in my book, Rock Your Literacy Block, I talk about how, well, no one is perfect, right? And there's not one perfect way to do, like to organize your literacy block or to organize your lesson. So focus on good, better, best. And I just wanted to share the good, better, best for phonics, okay? So um, and there's some parts, like even in this book, I kind of share like this part of the day, I'm fine to be somewhere between good and better right now, but I'm going to be working towards best, right? Where I always have more to work on. So it's good to teach phonics explicitly and systematically. This might be something you're already doing, or maybe a lot of what I shared today, you were like, whoa, I needed more of the basics of everything. So maybe this is where you are. You're going to be like, okay, I got to start teaching phonics explicitly. That's okay. I used to be there. It's better when you can implement those structured routines, right? Like some of those that I was sharing today. So students can focus on what they're learning rather than what they're supposed to be doing. They don't have to go, wait, where am I supposed to be? What am I doing? No, they are so confident. You might think that they will be bored with routines. I promise they are not. If they're bored, it's usually the pacing. But they thrive on routines, especially if you have students who are have some anxiety. I find especially they thrive on the routine and they're so confident and they can just focus on the new learning. And then it's best to plan your lessons with those transitions and those management strategies in mind to ensure student engagement and learning remains high. Okay, I know that I know I talk fast. Thankfully, this is going to be recorded. I always want to leave more time for questions. I know but I also have so much to share. So if there's anything else, I know I answered a few on the way. If there's any other burning questions,
And
um,
Lindsay, I just kept track of ones that
oh,
maybe you didn't
good.
get to. So one
Okay.
was your sound cards. Where are they
Yes.
from with the articulatory gestures that are on them?
Yep. Those were from Reading Horizons. And those, I see Shannon put the link in the chat. Thank you,
Perfect. Thank
Shannon.
you, Shannon.
Yeah, what else? Oh,
Um,
word lists. Yeah,
yep,
those that I do have some pre-made ones in my second book. That's that blue one with the spiral binding. Seven Mighty Moves Reading Resources. You can see that on Amazon or Scholastic. That I do have some there.
I did
Uh,
link that one in even though I said your most current, it's not your most current, but that book,
yeah.
I did link the right one.
Yes. Oh, you did. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
I didn't
trying.
see that. Okay, going through, did I show the time frames for steps 5 through 8? Yes, I did, but I can go back. I can go
And then I
check
think
it.
the only one that potentially was how do you use the letters lesson plan and your CKLL skills to plan each lesson? It sounds like you've kind of made your own combo and are lifting the words and maybe the text from the program, but you've got your
Yeah.
routine
Yeah,
built.
I follow our scope and sequence of the program. I have to build in the routines. You can see that these steps here are pretty much aligned with um, the letters lesson. You can see like there's little extra things, right? Like the partner reading and the choral reading. I've kind of pulled those parts, so it's a little more specific. And I really go through this order, like the order that I teach it and everything in Rock Your Literacy Book. Yeah, there's different programs. And I've loved like several different programs. You know what I mean? I've found success with them. So it is about making them work for you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay, so much.
Mhm.
I'm going to go ahead and kind of wrap things up just to respect people's time,
Yes,
although I know
definitely.
if they're like me, they could be listening to you a little longer. Can you see my screen? Lindsay, if you'll
Oh,
confirm the camera.
yeah, is mine not showing? Oh, I have to stop sharing, I think.
Okay, I want to make sure.
Okay.
Let's try this again, just to make sure they can see what I'm showing. All right. If you want to stay connected with Lindsay, she has some great social media supports and resources that come out. Want to attend another webinar? It's a good way to stay connected. So her Instagram handle is there, her Facebook, what to kind of put in for your search terms, and then her books are available on that scholastic.com shop. If you're like, I need more Lindsay in my life, those are some options for you. And
Yeah.
then we have our next upcoming webinar. Lindsay was our kickoff, and we were so glad to have her as a local Utah kick us off for this series. So thank you, Lindsay. Dr. Stacy Bain will be with us next week on, I think it's Tuesday, 6 p.m. And she's really going to talk about Tier 1, the importance of first response instruction how to get the most out of it. So you need less of intervention and more opportunities to practice and really strengthen that core. So if you are not registered, feel free to. If you're a member, it's free. If you can't attend live, we do record these and send them out to anyone who registers. So even if you're like, I don't know if I can make it on a Tuesday, I got to take my kid to soccer, you can still benefit later from that. You will get the recording. And then our full series, we just updated this today as we've nailed down almost everyone. We just have one more to get a date on. You have there, for example, Dr. Lisa Moats, who Lindsay spoke to today. She's one of the creators of
Yay.
letters. And if you're in Utah, you all have to go through letters. She just wants to do a Q&A with you. Like, what questions do you have now that you're back in classrooms learning
Awesome.
and using what you've learned or feeling like, I went to letters and I was great. I'm not sure how to turn it into the classroom. She's going to take questions, so we'll be recruiting questions for that. But we even have Dr. Shanahan, who will be with us in February to really talk about the need for engaging kids in challenging text. We are no longer under the need to match kids to text, and so we'll have some discussions around that. We've got a great series. Shannon's on today. Shannon will be one of our presenters in March. Excited to have you as well. So a lot of greatness coming. If you haven't seen all of these, we release them about a month in advance. So if you follow the Reading League Utah on Facebook or Instagram, nope, we're not on Instagram. Man, we're on Instagram too. LinkedIn, we're on all those places. Feel free. I think we're just on Facebook and LinkedIn now that I'm like, I wrote my things on there to help me. There's too many social media options. LinkedIn, if you just do the Reading League Utah, you'll find the Reading League, but you need to put Utah to find us.
And how are
And
we doing our winners, by the way? Are you
oh,
announcing
I
or
have the
just let
winners.
us
Yes,
know? Okay.
winners. If you are here and you hear your name, stay and just stay on for just a second, and we will get your information so that you can do that. I'm actually going to let you know who they are. And I did a random number generator, no benefit to anyone other than the randomness of the internet. So, Kesley Allred, first grade teacher at Syracuse Arts Academy.
Yay.
Tanya Glover, first grade teacher in Draper, and Rachel Wilson, second grade teacher in Illinois. So you three are our winners.
Congrats.
Lindsay will I'll get your information, I'll give it to Lindsay, and then she will take over from there. But I'm like, I'll handle the
Yes.
logistics.
I'll get it to hand to mine.
Thank
Okay.
you all for staying and joining us today. Lindsay,
Thank you,
one question I did
everyone.
miss. Are you willing
Yeah.
to share your slides? Yes.
Yes. I,
Okay.
I have to like take out some, it'll take me a minute because I have to take out some like student pictures and things.
Got you. If you'll send it to me when I send out the recording, I'll include
Okay.
the slide deck too. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Lindsay.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you all for attending on a Monday night. We hope to see you next week or at any of the ones you can attend in the future to keep learning together. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.